Let us hold unswervingly to the hope we profess, for he who promised is faithful. And let us consider how we may spur one another on toward love and good deeds, not giving up meeting together, as some are in the habit of doing, but encouraging one another, and all the more as you see the day approaching. Hebrews 10:23-25. Hello, I'm Dalton Johnson, and we're continuing our series of conversations with local pastors. This week's guest is Pastor Marlin Bjornrud. He's the lead pastor at Embarrass Free, and he's been serving there quite a number of years, but I'll let him explain that and more. Well, thank you again, Pastor Bjornrud, for joining me and taking some time off from your very busy schedule. First off, why don't you tell me a little bit about Embarrass Free and about the church's mission statement?
Okay, well, we are the Evangelical Free Church of Embarrass, so we are part of the Evangelical Free Church of America. We are kind of right in the middle of a number of towns here on the east side of the Iron Range, so our congregation ends up coming from 13 different communities, and we're right in the center, in the swamp of Embarrass. So it's kind of an interesting dynamic in the fact that we have people that go to different schools, live in different communities, but they all gather here for worship and fellowship and ministry. We average about 160 people on Sundays, I would say, and God has a pretty good mixture of ages, young, older, families with children and teens, so quite balanced in our demographics that way. As far as our mission statement, it involves the fact that our purpose is to exalt Christ, to bring Him glory in everything we do and in our communities, to help believers grow, to help them be edified through the Word, train them to be involved themselves in ministry, and then, of course, as a result of all that, to be involved in impacting our communities with the gospel, ready to evangelize and share Christ with people who don't know Him.
Wow, that's amazing. That's also just so unique that you have people from different communities come and worship. And it sounds like your church has a pretty solid definition of community. And while we're on the subject, what do you think the church's role in communities should be?
Yeah, we really encourage our people to be part of the community, that they live in, and to be building relationships with people, involved in their community, ready to speak about their faith through their life, through their word, and to represent Christ and the gospel. I guess that's kind of a unique thing about the church that makes us different from other community organizations, is that we hopefully point people to Christ and His truth, and are able to represent Him well in that way.
Impacting the community is such an important thing for the believer to do, and it's sometimes overlooked, unfortunately. So it's wonderful to hear that Embarrass Free places such a strong emphasis on being involved in the community. Shifting the topic a little bit here, Pastor Bjornrud, how long have you been serving at Embarrass Free?
Well, I tell you, I believe in long-term ministry, so we've been here 43 years, actually.
Wow.
We came in December of 1979 and have been here ever since, raised our family here, gone through the ups and downs with the congregation, and it's been a good marriage. I mean, they have to be committed to us being here so long, as well as us being committed to staying around. And I have ministry peers right now in the church, adults who I held in my arms as babies, which is kind of weird. They're in their late 30s, early 40s, and they're key people in our ministry. my peers, and I have witnessed every part of their life.
That's such a testament to Embarrass E-Free that you've seen the next generation grow up and, as they got older, increase in their faith and answer the call to spiritual leadership.
Well, right. If you were to move on after a few years, maybe you would hear in a letter or some kind of message on social media how people are doing, but to be able to have observed how they have been doing their whole life and getting to be part of that, pretty exciting.
Keeping the subject on you, Pastor Bjornrud, tell me a little bit about your family.
Sure. My wife Janine and I met at Oak Hills Christian College at Bemidji. Students there. We got married in 1973, which means we celebrated 50 years of marriage last year. Our first church was right out of school, a little country Baptist church near Akeley in the Park Rapids Walker area. And we were there for 6 years. It was kind of my seminary training, we like to say. And then, of course, we've been here the 43 years. We have 6 children, 5 boys, 1 girl. They're all adults now, of course, and out of the home. The oldest 4 are married, and so we have 11 grandchildren. 2 of the boys are pastors. In fact, one, Seth, is there in International Falls at the Covenant Church.
Yes, he's very involved in our community, and I can see some of his approaches in ministry echoing.
Oh, thank you.
Kind of tell me about your current sermon series that you're going through. What book of the Bible are you currently studying?
Well, I tell you what, it's kind of interesting right now. Our Bible camp this summer has picked as a theme the book of Colossians. And so what I chose to do is the last 8 weeks, I have been preparing our congregation for their involvement in camp by going through the first 2 chapters of Colossians, verse by verse. After camp, I will continue that. We'll go through chapters 3 and 4 as a follow-up to camp. But right now, in the summer, I've just started a series called Images of Discipleship. And each Sunday this summer, we're looking at a visual, an image in Scripture that reminds us of what is involved in living as a disciple of Christ. So like this Sunday, I'll be talking about the shepherd's staff. Last week, it was the yoke. 1 week, it's going to be the basin and the towel. 1 week, the mirror. 1 week, a sling and stone. Kind of the idea that we're taking an image every week from Scripture and talking about how it can be an ongoing reminder to what it's like to be a follower of Christ, aspects of living as a disciple of Jesus.
There's so many visual aspects of Scripture that, we kind of gloss over, so I'm glad that you're going over that. Sounds like a interesting sermon series.
Well, we tend to be visual people, don't we?
Yeah.
I suppose it's a human thing, but also a very big part of our culture. Images are all around us, but God has given us images to help us remember, truth from Scripture. So just kind of emphasizing that this summer.
It's definitely an interesting teaching series, Pastor Bjornrud. And I think on that note, we're going to end this conversation. I want to thank you again for just taking time out of your very busy schedule to call in and just have a short little conversation and tell us a little bit more about Embarrass E-Free. We hope you have a good rest of the day.
You as well. God bless you.
God bless you. Bye-bye. Embarrass E-Free is located at 5606 Taylor Road East in Embarrass, Minnesota. The worship service begins at 10 a.m. each Sunday with Bible classes starting at 9 a.m. You can find out more about the church by going to their website at efreechurch.com. With Heartland Christian Broadcasters, I'm Dalton Johnson.